you, Senator Warner. I appreciate very much the hard fight. You're in the middle of this with me, and everybody else that's in this room right now is in this fight because we have a lot of people's lives at stake. I came to the floor and warned that without passing this bill, the American Miners Act, the UMWA pension fund would be insolvent by 2022. And that timeline could be accelerated to within a year if one of the major coal companies declared bankruptcy. Last night, that happened. Murray Energy, the largest coal company in the United States, filed for bankruptcy, making it the 8th coal company in the past 12 months to do so. Murray Energy has contributed 97% of the money going into the UMWA pension fund annually. With Murray's bankruptcy filing, the UMWA pension fund will become insolvent even faster. And they're telling me by this time next year, there will have to be cuts drastically to people's pension checks, if not eliminated. Most of those checks, Madam President, I would remind everybody watching and listening, that are $600 or less. And most of them are for widows, where their husbands have passed away and they still depend on that for their basic necessities of life. Once the United Mine Worker Pension Fund becomes insolvent, this is going to start the snowballing effect. The crisis will truly go into a snowball effect and impact every other multiplier and pension fund for America. So to say that this does not affect all of America is wrong, because anybody that goes to work and pays into a benefit package with their employer matching them is in this same condition and in this same vulnerability. Now, that's another day I'm going to be speaking about that and what we can do to prohibit that from happening also. So that is why it's essential that we protect the coal miners' pensions now, not next year, not the year after, but now. And the reason for that, it's going to be too late if we do it any later than now. The only problem is that we have a little bit of a stumbling block with the majority leader and Senator McConnell. I know he's concerned about other pensions. We're all concerned about other pensions. But this is on the front burner now. When this happens, everything else will tumble and snowball with it. The American Miners Act would amend the current Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act of 1977 to transfer the funds. These are funds that are in excess of the amounts needed to meet the existing obligations under the Abandoned Mine Land Fund. So you'll know what AML, Abandoned Mine Land Fund, for every ton of coal that's mined, there's a certain percentage of that's put aside to take care of the reclamation that's going to be done if it's abandoned, so we don't leave the environment in a horrible shape. And that's what we work towards. Well, this fund has some excess funds. We're still meeting our obligations. We're using those excess funds to try to prevent this insolvency. It also raises the cap on the fund transfers from $490 million a year to $750, and to make sure that the pension fund has sufficient future funding also. The funding for coal miners' pension is already there. It is already there. And this is the product that they have worked and developed and basically extracted. So we're working within the same, in the same realm of what their livelihood has been. And it's exactly what our amendment will do. It'll reallocate those funds that they've worked for. Everybody that receives a paycheck, which is over 10.6 million hardworking men and women, take home less wages and instead invest their pensions, as I was telling you. They invest into these multi-employer pension funds, and they take money out, and they expect it to be there. And when it's not, and they're just the bankruptcy courts allow them to walk away, the miners, the workers are put on the back burner, and that's got to change. So when workers expect the wages that they have contributed to be there when they retire, as they were promised, and it evaporates, there's no answer. It's all in bankruptcy. Because of a bankruptcy, then I'm sorry, you've lost all the money you've invested. Well, it's not their fault. They gave the company everything they had. But under the current law, workers' pensions aren't protected, and the executive and investment firms exploit the code to benefit from the filing of bankruptcy. If you have never read anything about bankruptcy, read one case, Sears Roebuck. If you want to find out the unraveling of America and what happens to 250,000 workers that gave their life to this company, and how basically investors came in and raiders came in and took advantage of every person's pension plan, that's the one case you want to read, Sears and Roebuck. And that's why I'm here today to introduce the American Miners Act as an amendment to the Appropriations Minibus, and the Senate is voting on this week, because it's imperative that we do it now. We cannot wait. Since the majority leader won't allow the American Miners Act to come to the floor for a vote, which is his prerogative, My colleagues and I are here today to introduce the American Miners Act as an amendment to the Appropriations Minibus that the Senate is planning to pass this week. If we include the American Miners Act in the minibus, we would protect coal miners' pensions now before it is too late, and we will protect other pensions from starting to unravel in a snowball effect. And we will also protect the PBGC, which is a guarantee from the federal government. If not, all of this is going to come into fruition, which will be horrible for the workers of America, but most importantly, the economy of this country, and a lot of people will be hurt by that. These coal miners and their families deserve the peace of mind knowing that the pension they paid into and the paycheck after paycheck is secured. There are so many, and so when I say that, less than $600 is the average check of a miner's retirement. Most of that is retired miners. It's their widows. If they have passed on from the hard work they did, the widows are still there trying to manage what they have, which is very small at times. This is just a stipend of what they need, and to take this away will be very detrimental to their lives, the quality of their lives and their family. So we can give them that peace of mind today. If we can agree in a bipartisan way to do the right thing for the people that made America, the working men and women, and especially the coal miners that get up every day and they go to work and they produce the energy. And I've said this, when you think about a coal miner, what they've given, and the families that have committed and dedicated and lived their lives in these coal communities, they basically never have complained. They've done the heavy lifting. They've mined the coal that made the steel, that built the guns and ships, that built the factories, that built the middle class. They've been there every step of the way. From this great country, the United States of America, become the superpower of the world. And we owe it at least to give them the money back they paid into it. Not your taxpayer money, but the money they paid into it. Don't let somebody steal it. Wall Street doesn't have a right to that money, but they've taken it as if it was their own little treasure chest. It's just wrong. So we're introducing this amendment. We would hope that we would have a bipartisan support, and I appreciate very much. And I appreciate my dear friend from Pennsylvania who has the same hardworking people. It doesn't matter where your state is. If you've got good hardworking coal miners, and them and their families have sacrificed for this country, they need defenders such as Senator Casey. With that, I yield the floor, ma'am.